Toronto Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors. We are now trying to figure out what team is going to be the next NBA dynasty. We know that a lot of teams like the LA teams and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics and the 76ers are trying to become the next team to win a championship. But the question that I'm trying to figure out myself is who is going to be the next dynasty, because we all know that when it comes to figuring out that stuff, we've been wondering this ever since Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls ended their dynasty. Who was going to be the next one? It was, of course, the LA Lakers. And then, of course, we did this to the Miami Heat, the LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. Who's going to be the next Heatles? Who's going to be the next superstar team? But one team that we were not looking out for that was growing up before our very eyes was the Golden State Warriors, because they drafted from within and they did a great job of drafting players that they know can fit in their system and the system that they are looking for. You of course have Steph Curry, you have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond Green, and then eventually they did sign, but they did win a championship without Kevin Durant, but they signed Kevin Durant. But the question is now going to be what team is going to be the next one. And of course I mentioned a bunch of these teams, like I said, like the Boston Celtics, 76ers, Bucks, the Lakers teams. But one team in the East, in my opinion, is going to take that over. And it's of course not going to be the Brooklyn Nets. It's not going to be the New York Knicks. It's going to be the Atlanta Hawks. Now I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Why is it going to be the Atlanta Hawks? Just because they have the Warriors GM, they have a guy that could be the Ginger Clay, they have Trae Young, who's like the Steph Curry wannabe, and then of course you have other pieces around him. But I want you guys to hear me out and look at what this roster is capable of. Let's of course first start with Trae Young. Trae Young is of course a developing point guard that's trying to become more of what people think that he is than just a three-point shooter. Because when you ask anybody on the street or a casual fan, they're going to look at him and be like, well, he's trying to be like Steph Curry. He's trying to shoot deep threes, and that's really all his gimmick is. But you guys are missing the bigger picture, because last season, Trae Young averaged 19 points and 8 assists a game. To me, the 8 assists are the most impressive thing about Trae Young, because I think he can get better than 8 assists a game. And the reason why I say that is because his passing vision, not only in the Summer League where he's been kind of balling out, in the Drew League, but he's also been balling out on the court as well. Some of the passes he's able to make, some of the vision, some of the stuff that a regular point guard, even I wouldn't see that. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I would think that I'm alright of a point guard position, but Trae Young sees something even crazier. I don't know what it is about Trae Young's passing vision that's so amazing, but he's able to do stuff like that I don't even think Steph Curry could. And if you guys haven't watched the video, I talked about how Trae Young could be better than Steph Curry. Whether that's blasphemous or not, I want you guys to check it out. But that's one of the reasons why I think that the Atlanta Hawks are going to be the next dynasty. Just because averaging 19 and 8 in his first NBA season, you know, he might have a sophomore slump this season, but trust me, I think the Atlanta Hawks are going to be off in a better position, because Trae Young does not have an injury history, and 2, Trae Young's passing vision is what's going to get him above Steph Curry, in my opinion, if he continues to grow at the development that I think he is. Now, one player that they drafted this NBA offseason was, of course, DeAndre Hunter with the pick, and it is a pick that they desperately needed. And the reason why I say that is because he is going to be a guy that'll lock you up and is consistently working on his three-point shot. We know that Hunter is a great three-point shooter, but he still has a lot of ways to improve, especially in the NBA level where the three-point line is a lot deeper. I think that DeAndre Hunter could make the transition to be almost, if the ceiling is correct, I think that he could be a Kawhi Leonard-esque ceiling type of player. This guy's defense and this guy's offensive ability, although not there yet, same thing with Kawhi Leonard. It was all defense first. I just think that DeAndre Hunter can be the guy to really solidify this team and really lock up and clamp up the best player on the opposite team, and that's the reason why I really like this team. I think Schlenke did a great job, and if you guys don't know who Schlenke is, he's the Atlanta Hawks GM, who was formerly of the Warriors. I think he did a great job in assembling this team, and like I said, it's going to take a couple years, but trust me, Hunter is definitely going to be an X factor and a key piece into everything that we're talking about here. The next player we have to talk about is, of course, Kevin Huerter. We all know that this guy is primed for a big season after having a lot of injury history. His ability to create threes off the dribble, his ability to get open is something that's going to be very crucial for the Atlanta Hawks. We know that the Atlanta Hawks are going to be a team that's going to probably rely on the three-point shot, especially, I mean, it's the NBA now. You have to rely on the three-point shot. And I think that Kevin Huerter can do that, especially with the way that he shoots the ball when he's healthy. That's going to be the biggest issue for Kevin Huerter, is can he stay healthy enough to stay on the court and shoot those threes? Because if he's going to be able to do that, then you know that Kevin Huerter can really make a contribution to this team. And the question is going to be for him, can he really be the Ginger Clay, which he's been memed for being? because we know, like I said, everyone's kind of calling the Atlanta Hawks the Warriors of the East, and it's just like in a meme form because we know that Trae Young is supposed to represent Steph Curry and Kevin Huerter is supposed to represent Klay Thompson, aka the Ginger Clay. And I just think that if he's able to get 14 to 16 points a game, I think that Kevin Huerter can really make an impact and really be a solid player on this team. Especially when the Atlanta Hawks are dealing with guys like DeAndre Hunter, which I just talked about, and Trae Young, being able to go to a guy in Kevin Huerter, which is just spot up threes and making sure that he's able to create threes off the dribble. That, to me, is what's going to be very important for the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, or the next person that we're going to be specifically talking about, took a huge step from his freshman season, or I should say his rookie year, to his second year, and that is, of course, John Collins. Last year, John Collins averaged 10 points and 7 rebounds, knowing full well that his ability there is just not, as offensively, I just don't think it's there. But with the addition of Trae Young, he unlocked the inner keys of John Collins that I don't think we've ever seen, as John Collins, even in the summer league leading up to that season, last season I should say, he really balled out in that summer league, and now he's balling out in the NBA as he is now almost a 20-point game. I think he's like 19.8 or 19.7 points per game and 10 rebounds. To me, Trae Young has unlocked the inner lockings of John Collins, because this guy, like I said before, he was going to be a solid player. I think defensively he can still improve, and I think he has improved, and I think that he's going to improve even more coming next season. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be, he might be a 20-point per game scorer, but I think that's going to be more relied on Trae Young. As long as John Collins can get his 17 to, I would say, his 17 points. If he can get 17 points per game, John Collins can be a very key contributor to this team, not only with his athletic ability and pogo stick-like bounce, but this guy is going to be defending the rim, and he's going to be a great rim protector. He's an athletic finisher that I think is going to do a lot of damage in this league, especially because I don't think anybody on the Golden State Warriors resembles John Collins, and having someone like that on your team makes it a whole lot easier, especially for a guy in Trae Young who has that passing vision. Makes it easier for John Collins to go up and grab the ball and just dunk it. That, to me, is what's going to be another key contributor, and is going to be the reason, like I said, why the Hawks are going to be the Warriors of the East. This team is going to do their due diligence to make sure that they become the Warriors that we know and love. The next person we're going to be talking about is someone that they didn't draft, and I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't do it, but that is, of course, going to be Jackson Hayes. They, of course, had another pick in this NBA draft, and they decided not to take a guy in Jackson Hayes who I thought could be a very great player, especially at the center position. Almost like a John Collins-esque type of build, but I think that's the reason why they didn't go that route, and they decided to go with a guy named Bruno Fernando. If you guys don't know, he played at Maryland. He's going to be a great contributor because this guy is someone in the center position that they are missing. After not signing Dwayne Dedmon and not picking anybody up, Bruno Fernando is going to develop to be the next big center for the Atlanta Hawks. The one thing that is great about Bruno Fernando is that he doesn't need to score, but he has somewhat of a scoring ability to him. He's a guy that doesn't need the rock to be effective. This guy's defensive ability and block shocking and shot blocking ability, the way that he's able to time his jumps, is just absolutely amazing. I mean, when I really look at the Bruno Fernando hype, the one thing that I like about Bruno Fernando is that he's able to shoot 70% from the free throw line in college. So if he's able to transition that to the NBA, then there's no telling what Bruno Fernando could do defensively for the Atlanta Hawks. Of course, John Collins is going to be more of your offensive front man, but just know that having a guy in Bruno Fernando in the back line that is able to block shots, is able to time it perfectly. Obviously, I'm not expecting Bruno Fernando to be this great shot blocker, this Rudy Gobert-esque type of player immediately. But what I am looking forward to is that Bruno Fernando will be able to contribute to this team right away with just some limited abilities in terms of not a lot of NBA playing experience, but having that college experience and making sure, because he did stay for a second season. I just think that also being able to shoot 70% means that he's able to stay on the court longer. It means that he is able to do a lot of things on the court that not a lot of bigs can do, and that's, of course, shoot free throws in the clutch moments. Now, I think the biggest X factor in all of this, I've talked about other guys being key contributors and X factors, but this to me is going to be the biggest X factor of them all, and that is, of course, that the guy they drafted, not in Jackson Hayes, but Cam Reddish. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. After having that, up and down Duke season, a lot of people are not very high on Cam Reddish. A lot of people are saying, well, he's very inconsistent. What's his floor? Some saying that his floor is Rodney Hood. In my opinion, I think I could see Cam Reddish being a Joe Johnson-esque type of player. He's a guy that could be ISO Joe with big shots. I mean, we saw Joe Johnson hit a big shot in the Big 3 league. To me, Cam Reddish can be the biggest X factor, especially being the sixth man. It seems like what I'm seeing on the court and what I'm kind of projecting as the roster. He's not going to be taking over Kevin Huerter's spot. He's not going to be taking over DeAndre Hunter. I think that Cam Reddish is going to do a lot of things in this league. I know that he was very inconsistent last season, but the fact that he has such a high potential, to me, is something that you can't pass up. I know that a lot of people are kind of confused and wondering why they didn't go a different route, but to me, Cam Reddish is going to do his thing. Of course, like I said, very inconsistent in his NCAA. But the one thing that a lot of people look forward to, especially almost being a top 3 pick potentially, is the fact that he has the shooting ability and the fact that he has the body, size, and length to be a great defender and also someone that's able to score the rock. And to me, if the Atlanta Hawks, who have a great coaching staff, and that's what we'll get to next, I think with the great coaching staff and Lloyd Pierce, who's the coach, I think he's going to set Cam Reddish up for success, and it's all going to be on Cam Reddish now to decide whether or not he wants to be that X factor, that key contributor to the Atlanta Hawks, as we are trying to figure out how we can get them to be the next dynasty. And that, to me, like I said, is the biggest X factor. Just like Draymond Green was the X factor for the Warriors, and no one knew about it. We all know that he's the X factor for the Warriors, and that, to me, is what Cam Reddish is going to be. Can he be the guy that they drafted him to be? That's the biggest question going in for Cam Reddish. Now, of course, we have to talk about Lloyd Pierce, the disciple of Greg Popovich. Lloyd Pierce serving under Greg Popovich at San Antonio. I think Lloyd Pierce is a great coach. The way that they went on a little game-winning streak that I watched on NBA League Pass, watching a lot of those Hawks games was a lot of fun because the way that they played, the way that they moved was exciting, it was intricate, and it just kind of goes to show you that Lloyd Pierce has what it takes to be a great head coach. The one thing that I hope doesn't happen to Lloyd Pierce is the fact that what happened to Mark Jackson, right? He got a little bit in with the owner didn't like him, and the GM didn't like it. It was just a lot of butting heads, and it led to Mark Jackson not being able to win a ring with that team, and instead Steve Kerr took the mantle for it. And that's the biggest question that I want to know from the Atlanta Hawks. Will they allow Lloyd Pierce to grow up with this team, or will they do what they did with Mark Jackson and just kind of say, you know what, thanks for your services, we're moving on to a different coach? Because to me, that would be a huge mistake. I think Lloyd Pierce is a great coach and someone that can carry this Atlanta Hawks team to be the coaching factor in all this. We know that players and stars are what wins this league, but having coaches like Brad Stevens, having coaches like Greg Popovich really allows a team to be more than what they can be, right? I think that if LeBron James, honestly, if he had a good coach in his Miami Heat days, like not even Eric Spoelstra, I should say, but like in his Cleveland days, I love Ty Lue, but I think that if we didn't really get to see much of what Ty Lue had to offer. But I think if you were able to give LeBron James a really good coach, then I think that LeBron James could have won more rings. But that's just my opinion. And I just think that Lloyd Pierce is one of those coaches who, though is very young, I think that he has the ability to train this team and also help them out grow into becoming what they can be. And that's, of course, with Trae Young, John Collins, and, you know, Bruno Fernando, for that matter. You have guys like DeAndre Hunter, and you also have guys like Cam Reddish, especially Cam Reddish. I want to know how Lloyd Pierce handles Cam Reddish because, like I said, he's going to be the biggest X factor when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, when it comes to will they be the dynasty that we know and love. But this is what I'm saying. You have to look out for the Atlanta Hawks this season, as they are a very exciting team, a very young team, but I think a very exciting team. And I can potentially see them being a 5th through 8th seed, maybe the 7th seed. My prediction for them is going to be that they're going to go 43-39, and maybe they'll give the Boston Celtics or the Bucks a really good shot, a run for their money when it comes to if they face them in the first round. I just think that the Hawks have the key makeup ability to be the next dynasty. But I want to know your guys' opinion on who's going to be the next dynasty. Do you guys agree with what I have to say? Or do you guys think that there's another team that could be a dynasty? Whether it's the 76ers, whether it's the Boston Celtics, or whatever team in LA that you like. Clippers, Lakers. What team is going to be the next dynasty? I want to know your guys' comments and opinions in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, my name is Bernie, here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to let your friends know that I'm posting basketball content. I'm also trying to build a community here in the NBA, and not even NBA, but just the basketball world in general. Whether you want to talk shoes, whether you want to talk NBA, NCAA, AAU, whatever it is, I want to be the central hub for that. So, you know, let your friends know. If you have any comments or suggestions on what my next video should be, let me know in the comment section down below as well. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.